Thank you guys for joining me for another episode of Keeping It Real with America's Supermom. I'm excited about my next guest. She is an author and she has got so much going on. We were able to talk briefly before recording, but I have Tonya here. And before we get into all this great conversation about her greatness and things that she is doing to impact the world, we're going to give her the opportunity to introduce herself.
All right, thank you for having me, Michelle.
You are so welcome.
Okay, my name, as you can see, is Tonya Moore. I am a two-time best-selling author of two amazing anthologies, Fiercely Speaking and Unchain My Legacy.
Mm.
I the book has the first book, Unchain My Legacy, I completed in 2018 with
Mhm.
12 co-authors, or I should say 11 co-authors. I was number 12.
Mhm.
And we have this hashtag that says the 12 because we all, you know,
Yeah,
we're famous.
I love that. Hey, you gotta have a tribe, okay? So I love that.
Yep. And then my second book is Fiercely Speaking. That's the one I'm most proud of. I didn't know if I could show the caption.
Absolutely. Hey, I love it. I have some authors on here and I'm like, "Where's your book, girl? It's that somewhere, I don't even have a copy." I'm like, "Okay."
Yep. I know I went ahead and grabbed them off the shelf real quick, right?
Yes. You gotta be ready. You know what I mean? It's like a
Yeah.
person who sings, but every time somebody asks you, you don't know what to sing. So, yeah.
Yep. That's
But,
that's
I
me. I
love
don't
that.
sing, but I'm never ready to sing. Never.
Look, I'm ready, but I don't think people wanna hear it. My
I
daughter,
know.
I have a couple of, vocalists in my with my children,
Uh-huh.
and, my career is through them, right? Because I
Okay.
definitely can't hold a tune, even if it had a handle on it, okay?
I hear you, girl. I sing best in the shower, right?
Amen.
And in my car, I'm jamming in my car. I can
Right.
sing. I can hit all the
Exactly.
notes and everything in the car.
So true, so true. That is funny. And my husband, he makes up his own lyrics. So, the kids, it's so funny because some of the kids that sing, they start singing songs and then they have to figure out the lyrics because they're performing or whatever. And they're like, all this time, I thought it said whatever because daddy was saying that and it didn't even say it. So, yeah.
Yep. That reminds me when I, used to hear the song Jesus to be a fence
Oh,
all around
yeah.
me. I
Uh-huh.
was like, Jesus build a fence all around me, girl. I guess either one applied, right?
I know. But just for those of y'all that are watching, they do have the lyrics now. So if you know a song, you can look up the lyrics. So that way, I have to do that now because of my kids, I have babies still. So they're like 7,
Hmm.
9, 11, and then I've got these 30 somethings, right? And everything
Yeah.
in between.
Yeah.
So the older kids, they want to tell you when you're wrong. The
Hmm.
younger ones, they just, they believe that everything you're saying is gospel. So if you want to know the real lyrics, look it up on YouTube or something. But yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I got my husband to get me a karaoke machine for Christmas.
Okay.
And so I got the mic, I'm thinking I can sing, I'm just doing it, right? Saying all the words. Now I'm pulling up the lyrics, right? Have been singing it wrong forever, right? I was like, oh, I didn't even know it said that.
Exactly. Exactly. And that messes up your flow, when
Yeah.
you have to change the right words. Like, yeah.
Like it doesn't even mean the same anymore.
So I love that. But so talk to us about, the book that you're most proud of. Is it because you just completed that, or is it the message that's really so dear to you?
So the Fiercely Speaking book that I just showed,
Mhm.
shameless plug.
Amen.
This is the one that I'm most proud of. It was 14 co-authors in this book, and I
Mhm.
take my readers on my alopecia journey, right?
Mhm.
I struggled with alopecia as a child, probably somewhere between 5 and 7 years old. My mom noticed spots
Mhm.
throughout my head, small ones, just small ones, the size of like a dime or a quarter.
Mhm.
I'm from DC, so we went to a few dermatologists, And then we ended, the first few dermatologists told us it was something, male pattern baldness.
Mm.
And I'm thinking in a 5-year-old, but I don't think they had the right diagnosis.
Mm-hmm.
Then later on we went to Howard University and their dermatologist department, and they are the ones who actually said it was alopecia areata,
Mm.
which is a hair disease. It's a autoimmune deficiency disease.
Mm-hmm.
So all your hair follicles just die, right?
Mm.
And my hair would grow, come out, grow, come out, but it got to a point where it just it wouldn't grow completely in anymore.
Mm.
So I grew up, I struggled with this throughout the years, high school, all the way until adulthood. So it wasn't until recently, well, when I wrote my story in Fiercely Speaking, that I was really able to share it to the world because I just suffered in silence most of the time. No one
Mm-hmm.
knew. I
Mm-hmm.
hid behind the scarves and the
Mm-hmm.
weaves, or wigs and weaves, because I didn't even do the scarf game now. My rap game
Right.
is tight now.
I know
But
that's right. Hey, girl,
but
you right in with the trend, right? So
yeah,
that works out, It's so funny, like my kids, they wear mismatched socks. There would have been a
yeah,
time you'd be like, "What?" Of course you don't have no mismatched socks, but now
right.
it's the style. So,
That,
you just fit right in. So, yeah.
that's my daughter. Mismatched socks. I couldn't believe it. I was like, who does this, right?
That's what I said, girl. Look, they keep me young. That's for
Yep.
sure. Okay.
Yep. So yeah, so once I wrote that story, my friends, and I kind of felt like, would people accept it? You
Mm.
know, because I was really not accepting it. I didn't want to
Mhm.
believe. I was in denial, right?
Mhm.
But then I realized, I thought God was punishing me. I kept saying, God, why me? God, why me? Crying at night,
Mhm.
doing the whole gamut, feeling sorry for myself. I wouldn't I hid in the background. When I go into
Mhm.
conferences and stuff, I stayed in the back. I didn't want
Mhm.
to be seen.
Mhm.
And, like I said, I'm praying to God, asking him, why was he punishing me? But then I
Mhm.
realized after I wrote my book, he wasn't punishing me. He was preparing me, right? He was
Mm.
preparing me to speak to those who weren't ready to speak for themselves, right?
Right. Mhm.
So after that, I created my Facebook group called Wearing Alopecia with Style. And, so I invited a bunch of ladies who I knew struggled with
Mhm.
alopecia. And then, over time, just met other people just through speaking about it.
Mhm.
People would say, I don't know if I could do it,
Mhm.
so I want them to wear their confidence, right? I want them
Yeah.
to be confident in who they are, you know.
Mhm.
And it wasn't until later on in my life that I developed vitiligo, which was another
Mm.
deficiency disease, autoimmune deficiency disease.
Mhm.
And that came about, it was slowly coming on after I reached about 35 years old. You
Mhm.
know, it then it picked up at 46. And I was looking at some pictures the other day and I was like, oh, I remember when I was all one color, you know.
Mm. Yeah.
And so, but again, God was preparing me. He was like, I need you out front. I need people to see who you are, right? So
Mhm.
now when people speak to me, they was like, the girl that, I can't say what it is, but I can't pronounce it. But the one, with the white spot, her,
Yeah.
so they know that, about
Mhm.
me, and don't even necessarily know my name.
Exactly. Yeah. I
So
I love that because I think, what comes up for me is that we all have a obstacle,
yep.
and we make the obstacle even more bigger than what it
Hmm.
starts out. So I'm just going to the fact of hair loss.
Hmm.
So there, I don't know how long weaves have been around, but it's been a long time. I don't
Long
know how
time.
long wigs, but it's been a long time.
Long
And
time.
it's a style for you to have beautiful hair, but still
Hmm.
wear a wig or have a weave. I mean,
Hmm.
that's just how it is.
Hmm.
So, talk to us about how you can do things that will cover up, so to speak, the things that you are having an issue with, and no one would know.
Mm-hmm.
But how did you transition from the cover up to the inner work? Because although we can kind of fall in line with what's going on
Mm-hmm.
and gloss over it, what
Yeah.
was it that you had to change inside to
Yeah.
where, it was living beyond whether you had a wig on, a scarf, or whatever?
Yeah. So that took a minute, right? I wish that I would have done that. I wish I would have done that work sooner.
Mhm.
Um, but I just stopped looking in the mirror, finding all my flaws, right? I
Mm.
stopped, I hated my nose, I hated the freckles on my face, I hated my eyes, I hated my lips, right? It wasn't
Mhm.
until one day I had on some lipstick
Mhm.
trying to cover these, choppers up, right? So they said, "Oh, that lipstick, your lips are so pretty. That lipstick, right?" They
Mhm.
gave me a compliment, right? I
Mhm.
wasn't expecting it, right? I'm
Mhm.
just trying to cover up, like you said, right?
Mhm.
The insecurities, my flaws that I call them, and
Mhm.
they didn't even notice it. People don't even notice your flaws. Only you
So
notice
true.
them, right?
So true.
So I stopped, after that, I was like, oh, I got to keep that lipstick. So I kept trying to buy that lipstick, right? Or something that came close to it, right?
Right.
Because I thought, okay, this might not be so bad after all, right?
Mhm.
So I started thinking, instead of focusing on the things that I cannot change, right? Focus on the things that I can change,
Mhm.
right? So, God helped me through that. Just
Mhm.
being a part of church families and Bible studies and things like that, they helped me
Mhm.
realize that all that stuff was small stuff. It's so
Mhm.
insignificant in the
Mhm.
in the grand scheme of things, right?
Mhm.
I went to therapy when I was younger to try to deal with it because I was angry, right?
Mm.
I was mean. I was
Mhm.
feeling mean. And I thought it was just me saying, well, my motto, if you don't want to know the truth, go ask somebody else. That's my motto, right?
Mm.
But it would
Mhm.
come off as mean, right, to
Mm.
people. And I had to realize that maybe everybody ain't ready for that truth, right? And that's my truth. Why
Right.
should I do my truth on them, right?
Mhm.
Let them figure it out, right?
Right.
But but yeah, so and it stemmed back from probably not being able to do being teased as a kid,
Mhm.
and not being able to go for the things that I wanted to go for because I was ashamed and embarrassed,
Mhm.
so I'm pretty sure it stemmed from that.
Yeah. I mean, because I kind of dealt with the same thing with depression. So I
Mm.
was dealing with depression for 13 years and was hospitalized 3 times. And, during that journey, there were times when I couldn't talk about it because I felt like I hadn't really healed from it. It
Yeah.
was like it was I had my value attached to that story rather than it being part of my journey.
Right.
And it wasn't until I had the revelation that's just a part of my journey. That's
Right.
why I am able to talk about the topic. That's why I'm able to empower other women
Yeah.
because of my journey.
Hmm.
So, for somebody who's listening, how do you get out of your head about, your shame or, feeling like, you're different and so this is why things didn't happen for you? It's kind of like that
Yeah.
victim mindset because I was there.
Yeah.
So, how did you get past that? And is that something you struggle with still, or what would you say is what helps you be a voice now to help other people?
Well, because how I mentioned that God was preparing me, he was
Mhm.
preparing me to help others get through their struggles. So I just started thinking that maybe this is meant for me. This was my journey. I was supposed to go through
Mhm.
these things. I needed a testimony, right? I needed
Mhm.
to a testimony to say that, look, see, this is what God can do, you know
Mhm.
and I have never really struggled from a deep depression, whereas that I was hospitalized or anything like that. But just being sad about the hair loss,
Mhm.
you know, was was enough to keep me from, being out in front of people.
Mm.
right?
Mhm.
Going, like I was saying before, going out for the things that I wanted to go out, speaking up,
Mhm.
when I didn't. So I think what did it for me was the Serenity Prayer, right?
Mm.
That's one thing that I really truly live by. It's like,
Mhm.
change the thing. God grant me the serenity to change the things that I can and accept the things that I can. I know it's probably a little bit
The
backwards,
wisdom to
right?
know the things I
And
can't
and
or
the
something like that.
right,
Yeah.
and the wisdom to know the difference. That
Right.
one is something you can change and one is something you can't.
Right.
And for me, it was just the outer stuff, right? The outer stuff
Mhm.
was something I could control. But the
Mhm.
inner stuff I still had to work on. I had to,
Mhm.
again, stop looking in the mirror saying, that's ugly. That's ugly. You know, I had to
Right.
just stop doing that,
Mhm.
right? And pull myself up and not wallow in self-pity and say, what can I do differently today that I, didn't do yesterday? Right?
Amen.
What can I do different today? Can
Mhm.
I can I start can I start a journal? Can I write, things like I have a grateful jar, right? So I start
Mhm.
writing stuff in my grateful jar. I know some people have journals where they journal their feelings.
Mhm.
That's another thing that helps, journaling your feelings, right?
Mhm.
Because the thing about it is once you get past it, because nothing lasts forever, ever.
Mhm.
So once you get past it and you can go back and look in that book and you was like, man, I was here. Look how far I've come. And you don't even
Mhm.
have to do it like think so far in the future. You could be like, okay, one day at a time. This day I'm going to do
Mhm.
this, and this day I'm going to do this, and next time I'm going to smile at somebody the next time I see them, right?
Mhm.
Just the small steps, something that you can do and don't have to pay for.
I love that. I think that is so true because I think, we get sidetracked thinking about all the grandiose things
Yeah,
and we're not even equipped to do that. You know what I'm saying?
no,
We're making the problem way bigger than what we really have the credentials to
yeah,
feel. And I love the whole thing about the small things that you can implement because I think it's just getting started. It is
yeah,
just doing one thing that gives you that momentum to feel good and keep on
yeah,
striving to do that over and over again. So I love that you mentioned that. So
yeah,
for people that are wondering, what work do they need to do in order to go back and teach other people? How do you get started with that? Because, you know, we can get in our own head and say, well, you know what? I was depressed and nobody wants to hear about that. There's nobody out there.
yeah.
How did you begin to kind of tap into your audience and figure out where they were?
Well, just sharing your story, number one. Everywhere
Mhm.
you go, just share that
Mhm.
story. Because
Mhm.
believe it or not, somebody is waiting to hear your story. And even if you
Mhm.
don't write it in a book, you can tell it on a stage. You can
Mhm.
speak in front of young women or whoever your target market is. You can
Mhm.
speak in front of them at church, a Bible study, or just start small. And you'll be
Mhm.
surprised how people will come up to you and say, hey, you know what, my sister went through that, or you know what, I was going through that same thing. And your words really changed that for me. It made me see something different. And
Mhm.
another thing is gratitude, right? We're
Mhm.
always looking at the things we don't have,
Mhm.
right? We're always looking at the things we lack and say, why,
Mhm.
I want more. Why can't I have this? Instead of just being grateful for the things that you do have. And that's
Amen.
in a way, that's how I had to do with alopecia and vitiligo, because those things weren't death sentences,
Right.
right? I was healthy, not where I didn't have any health issues, because I guess everybody has something, right, that they
Exactly.
struggle with. But
And mine could be a crazy one, okay?
yes, exactly.
'Cause mental wellness, I'm telling you,
Yes,
that
the
could take you on a
mental
whole
illness.
'nother journey. But
Yes,
yeah.
you're right. So yeah, just doing again the small things, telling your story, because somebody is
Mhm.
waiting. Your story could be something what somebody needs to heal. And so when
Mhm.
I wrote in the book, even the first book was about my relationship. Okay, I'm gonna do this. This is called
I love it, girl.
Untitled.
Hey, look, I'm all about the marketing, okay? So I
Yeah.
definitely understand that. I mean, and that's another thing. People are so shy about, if you wrote a book, don't you want people to buy it? Don't you
Yes.
want people to know your story? I mean, if not, why are you an author? So I totally get that. You gotta get
Yeah.
out there.
And sometimes people's stories are may affect other people. And I think that it's a
Hmm.
little bit of they're scared to tell their story. Like one young lady that was in, I think she was in my second book, the Fiercely Speaking one. She had a tumultuous relationship with her dad.
Hmm.
And before she wrote her story, she wanted to tell him, that this was the story that she was going to write and for him to be okay with it.
Hmm.
And so that's a problem with some people because they don't want to hurt the person that they love or the
Right.
people that they love, but it's really their story to tell.
So true. Yeah.
It's really their story, and then you can change the name to protect the innocent or guilty, you know
Right.
but hey, it's your story,
So true.
and your story is going to heal somebody. Somebody
Hmm.
is going to heal from that story.
I love that. And that is so true because I think a lot of times, that stops us all from healing.
Yeah.
Because, you may have had a story, but it was a story with little bit of information. You only had a little bit, but because you speak up about that story, then you get revelation,
Yeah.
or they come back and tell you, man, I didn't even know you felt that way. This
Yeah.
is why I did that. And then you're really delivered,
Yeah.
but if you keep that story inside, it's like you're suffering in silence, and suffering maybe a lot of times in ignorance
Yeah.
because of something you didn't know.
Yeah.
So I really resonate with you saying that because I think that's so important. And telling people what has happened, how you've grown as a result of that story. Because I know for me, I blame my husband, kids, circumstances. It's like, I was in the hospital 3 times, and, I
Yeah.
just was people pleasing and all that, but it was under the victim mode, right?
Yeah.
Woe
Yeah.
is me. I
Yeah.
got all this stuff going on. But it wasn't until I told my story to take accountability for the things
Mhm.
that I was a part of.
Yeah.
If I don't have any boundaries, is that their fault?
Right.
If I'm people pleasing, is that their
That's it.
fault? So I had
Yeah.
to really look in the mirror and say,
Yeah.
hey, girl,
That's
you gotta
exactly
fix
right.
you. Okay.
That's exactly right. You just said something that um oh, you were telling. So that's what we have to do. We have to do the work to get to the victorious side, right?
Hmm.
But when we tell our stories, we want to make other people cry, right? We don't want to be the ones that's crying on stage, right?
Right.
So, so we have to tell our stories from a victorious point of view. Like your depression story, yes, it was sad, and it probably makes you sad to think about some of the things, some of the years, because you said for 13 years.
Hmm.
So I can't imagine the turmoil you must have been feeling inside.
Hmm.
But then when you tell the story, you're like, I'm over here now. I
Right.
overcame it now, and here's what helped me to get there.
Yeah.
You know, and so
Hmm.
we telling people so that they have hope that they
Exactly.
can get there too.
Hmm.
So that's why we don't want to be on stage, with tissue in our hands
Ex-
and doing. We don't want to do that because then the audience is like, "Well, let me go help her, right? She's supposed to be
exactly.
helping me, right?" So,
Exactly. It's so true, and I mean, I think, that is so true. You have to be on the other side of it, and I think
yeah,
sharing those stories, though, a
yeah,
lot of
helps you.
people, I was that one where I was hiding behind the mask of everything looking perfect, right?
Yeah,
Having some issues, but
yeah,
just not being truthful about some of those issues, trying to cover them
yeah,
up. But it
yeah,
wasn't until that I exposed them that I really had more people that were inspired, because I
yeah,
think when we're trying to live this fake perfect life that doesn't exist, people
yeah,
can't relate to you, because you're telling
yeah.
them stuff that's not true. It's like,
That's right.
oh, yeah, I talk to my kids, they get along. That's
Yeah,
not happening. Okay. You could be doing a real good deed. You're in there cooking. Next thing you know, they're fussing and arguing because some person's plate is bigger than the other one. I mean, it crazy stuff, right? So I think when you have that element of being authentic,
Yeah.
People say, man, I struggle with the same thing and she's still doing what she does. So I don't have
Yeah.
an excuse.
Yep.
I need to get out here and speak too, because if she can do it, I can do it. That's
Yep.
the part.
And that's where you want, that's where you know that people heard you. They understand you
Mhm.
inspire somebody to say, man, she doing that. She went through that. She
Right.
went through that for 13 years and she, look at her. She got her own show. I mean,
Right.
she doing it, you know?
Right.
But it's just like that. But it's just like that picture of the, is it the iceberg that the peak
Yes.
is sticking out of the top and all up underneath the waterline is
Mhm.
all the stuff that you've gone through, all the pain, all the hurt, all the, people don't see that. They just see that iceberg. But when you
Right.
tell your story, the tip of the iceberg, but when you tell your story, people can relate.
Yes.
They can relate, and being authentic. It's just like social media. We look at this stuff and we say, oh man, I wish I was there, or they just living such a fabulous life. And maybe they are, but we don't even know how they got to that fabulous life,
Exactly.
right?
Yes.
We don't know what they went through. We
So
don't really
true.
know what they struggled with, right?
So
We
true.
just see them and think, man, they got the perfect life. Nobody has the perfect life.
So true. It doesn't exist,
It doesn't
and it's
exist.
like, we can create our own reality, our own story, our own narrative, but it's based on your mindset.
Yeah.
I could say, hey, depression was the best thing for me now
Yeah.
because, I have confidence. I speak about it and I'm like, hey, you know what? I don't have to worry about that was my rock bottom experience.
Yeah.
I lived through that. So, hey, bring it on. You know
Bring it
what I'm
on.
saying?
Bring it
I
on.
mean, hey, only place I can go is up because I was rock bottom. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? So I think, people are afraid of that. But we already are rock bottom. See, that's a lot of things that's going on.
Yeah.
You are living rock bottom and you want to
Hmm.
get out, but you trying to pretend like you're not at that place.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so I think this is
Exactly.
the
Exactly. I 100% agree. Right.
mm-hmm,
But you're right. We all still struggle with something to this day.
mm-hmm,
But
mm-hmm.
you know, when you know that you're healed, you know that you're not trying to hide it. It's like, hey,
Right.
I can be authentic with this. Yeah, that happened, and
Exactly.
and I'm dealing with it, because I
So
know
true.
that storms don't last forever, right? On my
Right.
tags, it has storm over because I'm either going through a storm, is one coming,
Or
or
just
I
gotta
just left,
yeah.
right?
So
So
true.
my tag is like storm over because I know that I'm going to get to the other side. I'm gonna get
Amen.
there. So
Amen.
that,
I love that. So,
yeah,
this segues to the last question is how do you maintain that mindset? Because I think a lot of times people have a business and when the business is good, they're doing good. The business is not doing good, then they're negative or,
yeah,
woe is me. So what work do you have to do to keep that even keel about,
yeah.
always having that positivity?
Yeah. Well, again, gratefulness, right?
Mhm.
Gratefulness. I don't think about what I don't have. God provided this, He provided that, and a way for me to get it.
Mhm.
All I have to do is just keep moving in that direction. Just keep putting one foot in front of the other. Just
Mhm.
keep going for setting goals and getting to them small goals, obtainable goals that help me know, okay, well, this didn't work out. Okay, then maybe I can try this. Not that I'm switching gears altogether, but just a different route, right? I'm still on the
Mhm.
same road. I'm still trying to get to the same destination, but maybe I have to detour here or go around here or something like that. But I just keep putting the obtainable goals, do this small step, just keep it going, and I just keep praying to God every morning. I'm grateful.
Amen.
I'm grateful that He wakes me up. He sent His two big bodyguards, Grace and Mercy, to
Praise
watch
God.
over me while I slept, and He threw their little brother in there, Goodness, right?
Amen.
So He throws them in there every night,
Mhm.
and that's why I know I can keep going. And plus the support of my family. My husband is
Mhm.
like my number one fan. He's my super fan.
Praise
So
God.
with that, I know that I'll be okay.
Amen. Well,
Yeah.
this has just been a great conversation, and I'm so excited that you came on. And I think it's a great message because, we all, like you said, have some kind of cross or obstacle that we have to bear. And
Mm-hmm.
although it looks different, we can still use the same principles and
Same
help us to
principles.
overcome it. So,
Yeah.
really appreciate you coming on, being transparent, because that is really what inspires so many people. It's just to hear the real authentic story. So, thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Awesome. Now, so what's the best way for the audience to get a hold of them books, girl?
Oh, okay. So if you see my name right there, Tonya Moore, take
Hmm.
a snapshot and put a .com on the end. No spaces, but a .com/books. And I got a
Awesome.
new book coming out in January, so that'll be on the website when it launches.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Tonya. And we want to thank you guys for spending some time with us, hanging out with us. If you have any questions, you want to connect with Tonya, feel free to put it in the comments and we will make sure that she connects with you. But in the meantime, we want to thank you so much for your time and we will see y'all on the next episode. Bye for
All right.
now.
Bye bye.